Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Sun and Moon moveset video. Today's video is going to be all about Type Null, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, ability, and stats. So to start things off, Type Null is a Null-type Pokemon that possesses one ability in the form of Battle Armor, which is an ability that makes it so that this Pokemon cannot be the recipient of any critical hits. For its stats though, this Pokemon is very interesting in that it has such high stats for a Pokemon that is considered to be a pre-evolution, possessing base 95 HP, physical attack, physical defense, special attack, and special defense. And when you couple these defensive stats in particular with an Eviolite item, you get a very, very tanky Pokemon that is able to also dish out a lot of damage with its high attack stats. For its speed, however, it is only base 59, so do keep that in mind when using this Pokemon, as it will be a fairly slow wall or attacker when making use of it. However, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have a way to boost its speed, which I'll be talking about a little bit later. But with that, let's take a look at the first moveset that I have for you in this video. So for this first moveset, we're going to be running Type Null as either a physical or special attacking mixed wall. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either an Impish Nature to increase its physical defense but lower its special attack if you're going to go the physical attacking route, or a Bold Nature to increase its physical defense but lower its physical attack if you're going to go the special attacking route. As to the ability though, we're going to be going with Battle Armor since it's the only ability that this Pokemon gets. As to the EVs, as mentioned before, we're going to be running a mixed defensive spread for this Pokemon. So we're going to put 240 into its HP, 76 into its physical defense, 176 into its special defense, and then putting the remainder 16 EVs into its speed stat to allow it to outspeed the base 60 Pokemon it falls just short of outspeeding. As to the item, we can either run with Eviolite to boost this Pokemon's defenses even further, or actually even just make use of leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn, because unlike a lot of other Pokemon that make use of Eviolite, this Pokemon has really good defense stats to begin with, so the added recovery from leftovers can definitely come in handy because this Pokemon doesn't have access to another way of recovering its HP outside of rest. But for the first move on this set, we're either going to make use of Tri Attack if you're going the special route, or Return to be your main stab normal type move. Tri Attack is also of particular note because of its chance to potentially paralyze, burn, or freeze your opponent, so do keep that in mind. Along with this, we're then going to be running Air Slash for the special variant, or Shadow Claw for the physical variant, to give this Pokemon a little bit more type coverage. It's also important to note that Shadow Claw works very well in combination with Return because it allows you to hit ghost types super effectively that would normally be immune to your Return, whereas Air Slash on the other hand has a chance to flinch your opponents, which could potentially come in handy, especially because for the third option, we are including Thunder Wave along with Toxic as a way to potentially paralyze your opponents. So Air Slash and Thunder Wave in combination with each other can create kind of a para-flinching effect on your opponent, thus making it very difficult for them to attack, whereas Toxic can also work really well with Air Slash as well, because you could potentially flinch something and then have it just take more toxic damage over time. However, again, both of these options are viable for the physical variant, whether you're running Thunder Wave or Toxic there. But for the last move on the set, we're going to be making use of U-Turn as a way to give this Pokemon some maneuverability around the battlefield and potentially some switch initiative and bug-type damage whenever you make use of it, which a lot of other Eviolite Pokemon with such great defenses that Type Null has do not have access to, making this fairly unique in its own right. As for this next moveset, we're again going to be running a defensive kind of Type Null. However, this one is going to be on a Rest Talk variant. So again, we're going to be going with the same nature as before in Bold, and the same EVs as the previous moveset, but in addition to the Eviolite and Leftovers items as an option, we're also going to include Rocky Helmet to allow this Pokemon to potentially get some extra damage on opponents that are making use of contact-based moves. For the moves on this set though, again, Rest and Sleep Talk, as mentioned before, are going to be two of our options to allow us to recover all of our HP back up to full and get rid of any negative statuses, while then having access to Sleep Talk to allow us to then damage things still even while asleep. But for the moves that we're going to be making use of as far as our own damaging purposes are concerned, Tri Attack is going to be your main attack on the set as a nice powerful special normal type move to make use of that will also have that added chance of potentially paralyzing, burning, or freezing your opponents. For your second move though, this is where the set can kind of vary in different ways. You could either run Roar as a way to allow this Pokemon to phase things out of battle, making use of its great defenses and thus allowing it to potentially put a stop to setup sweepers, or even make use of the unique fact that when you pick Roar with Sleep Talk, you no longer have the negative priority that Roar normally has, which could be also very useful when making use of this Pokemon. But we could also run Workup in this slot as well to have kind of a bulky boosting Rest Talker that has one attack in the form of Tri-Attack. Though do keep in mind that if you do run Workup, you are going to have a little bit of problems dealing with Ghost-type Pokemon, but it could be a really great way to reliably boost this Pokemon's special attack and allow it to damage things while also sustaining itself throughout the battle. But the last option here could also be U-Turn as a way to give this Pokemon some switch initiative and scouting abilities, while also potentially sleep talking it as well, which could work in handy because of the fact that this Pokemon is pretty slow and thus can give us a slow U-turn, allowing us to take a hit and then sleep talk a U-turn out into another Pokemon on your side of the field. As for this next moveset, we're going to be giving Type Null a little bit more of an offensive role on the battlefield. So we're going to start this one off by giving it an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack but lower its special attack, and going with the Battle Armor ability, and an EV spread of 200 HP EVs, 252 physical attack EVs to max that out, and then putting the remainder 56 EVs into its speed stat to allow this Pokemon to outspeed base 65 speed Pokemon that it falls just short of outspeeding. As for the item, we're going to be running Eviolite again as an option to boost our defenses, or Leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover some HP at the end of every turn while it tries to set up through the use of its first move on the set, which is going to be Swords Dance, which will be a move that will be boosting your physical attack by 2 stages every time you go for it. In addition to this, we're going to be making use of one normal type attack in the form of either Return, Double Edge, or Facade, Return being the most consistent of the 3 options, Double Edge being the more powerful of all the options, but at the cost of having you take recoil every time you damage your opponent, and Facade being another interesting option to make use of in case you accidentally get burned when making use of a Swords Dance type Null. But for its second attack, again, we're going to be making use of Shadow Claw to give you some good type coverage overall and allow you to deal super effective damage to the ghost types that are going to be immune to your normal type moves. And for the third or final move slot on this set, I should say, not third, we're going to either go with Rock Slide as a way to get some additional type coverage, Flame Charge for the same reason, but also as a way to potentially boost our speed, thus creating kind of a double boosting set, X Scissor as a way to get some additional bug type coverage, and Iron Head again for that same reason, and then also potentially running U-Turn on this set as well to give this Pokemon some maneuverability around the battlefield and more so able to pick and choose the spots where it needs to set up while still retaining that excellent ability to scout its opponent's moves. But overall, this is what a physical boosting set would look like for Type Null. On the other hand, if you want to run a different variation of a special boosting moveset, unlike the Rest Talk one I showed before, there is this one that you see on your screen right here, which includes giving Type Null a Modest Nature to increase its special attack but lower its physical attack, and then an EV spread of 200 HP EVs, 252 special attack EVs, and 56 speed EVs for the aforementioned reasons. As for the item, Eviolite and Leftovers again are options here, but we can also run Psychium Z on the set to work in combination with the second option for boosting outside of Workup, which you all know will be boosting your physical attack and special attack by 1 stage, which is Heal Block. And what Heal Block does, in addition to obviously preventing your opponent from regaining HP, when used in combination with Psychium Z, it actually boosts your special attack by 2 stages, acting very similarly to Nasty Plot, thus allowing you to boost your attack a little bit more quickly, while also, again, getting that extra benefit of preventing your opponent from regaining HP. But once we've boosted our special attack, again, we're going to be making use of Tri-Attack and Air Slash as your main special moves, and then for your last move slot, either running some type of hidden power to complement Tri-Attack and Air Slash, and this will largely depend upon what tier this Pokemon ends up being in and what it needs to hit super effectively with Hidden Power, because in and of itself, Tri-Attack and Air Slash are actually pretty good. Hidden Power potentially could be Ground or something like that to give it a little bit of an added way of using this Pokemon versus Steel and Rock types, but it's really going to largely depend upon what this guy is going to be matched up against. But Flame Charge is again another option to boost your speed to kind of create a double boosting set, or U-Turn like before to allow Type Null a way to maneuver a little bit in and out of the battlefield, scout its opponents, and potentially pick and choose the time when it's going to try to set up and damage things. But overall, everybody, that is it for this video on this really awesome and powerful new pre-evolution that eventually will be turning into the really awesome and unique Silvally, which I will be talking about in a future video. But thank you for watching, everybody, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.